take from my bed to the floor. 5, 6, 7, 8. Will today be rough or will today be great? 9, 10, 11, 12. Lately I've been going through hell. 13, 14, 15, 16. Today's the day. Are you coming? Are you sick of being normal? I'm sick of being average. I'm sick of being mortal. I'm about to be a savage. I see a lot of things that I want, I will have them. I got a new mindset that I just established. I'll march through the cold with the nails on the pavement. I'll shovel that coal just to get out the basement. My story will be told, helping others make changes. I'll be so bold, they will watch in amazement.
Am I gonna face it? Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time, do you take it? Am I gonna face it? Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time, do you take it?
Foot up on the pedal, pushing hard to the metal. Make a deal with the devil. Channel rage through my vessel into something that is special. Energy of a rebel, going up a level. I just wanna be greatness. I could feel changes, turn a new page and tie up my laces. I will be the bravest, break out of my cages. I will not be nameless, I will not be aimless.
Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time, do you take it? Am I gonna face it? Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time, do you take it?
Nothing can stop me, no. 'Cause I'm addicted to what you and I realize. Lead the way, I follow. No need to say where we are heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. So tell you good night, 'cause I'll find no matter what, yeah. Susceptible night, before the moment flies, before it flies. So tell you good night, 'cause I'll find no matter what. Susceptible night, before the moment flies,
What is going on, everybody? What is going on? Welcome back to the Locked In Podcast, episode 242. Back in the building tonight with another great episode. Last week we touched on real estate. We were in the personal growth specter of business. We got into what you needed to secure your first investment property with real estate investor and licensed realtor in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia area to be exact. Rob LaVenture, my close brother, and one of the essential co-hosts of this podcast. So thank you, Rob, for returning, as always, with those type of business episodes, coming on and really just giving some solid perspective to anybody that can realistically use it out there when it comes to securing an investment property. And guys, for any type of real estate needs in the Philadelphia area, or even New Jersey, because he's got connections over there, reach out to me or reach out to Rob. I believe his tag on Instagram is Rob underscore LAV, which is Lav for like his last name, LaVenture, 215. So ROB underscore LAV 215, or reach out to me. I'll get you connected with him. All right, guys. So tonight's topic is going to be a little bit of a shift to the parental side of things. So what we're talking about here tonight, if you guys didn't see the promotion, is the ultimately the challenges of modern day parenting and how to navigate them. What to expect when raising your first child into the young man or young woman they are going to become. So all the perspectives tonight, just want to give you guys a heads up. There's no live guests on here tonight. Every person who was giving perspective here tonight in the promotion gave me insight ahead of time as parents, as fathers and mothers. So we had 3 men, 3 women. I do want to say that Nate Evans, my close brother, he did not have time to get me anything. So it's going to be 2 men and so 2 fathers and 3 mothers that were able to give me perspective tonight. So excited to get into this. Excited to cover this topic because this is so important, as men and women, to raise our sons and daughters into the young men and women that we want to see them become, right? We want to emulate that and model that, but there are a lot of challenges that come with it. And I think there's a lot in this day and age in particular. Things have shifted in terms of a lot of kids nowadays. Everybody is connected to technology. It's a little bit different than when I grew up and the generation I grew up in, where a lot of kids played outside. We played video games, but there was a healthy mix. A lot of us were outside playing. It's a little bit different as they get older, but we'll also cover when a child is first born, the stress that comes with that, the challenges that come with that, because you can't really understand it until you've been in that position. So it's great to talk to people who are already in that position as mothers and fathers so that they can provide that perspective if you're someone who's about to be a first-time mother or father, or maybe you already are right now, just to give you their perspective. So with that being said, guys, we are going to dive into the topic. I always have to give you the spiel as I start this. If you're watching on YouTube and you're not already subscribed, you already know what to do. Come on, what are you doing, bro? Hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell to turn those notifications on, especially if you like content related to personal growth. So if you like that, you don't want to miss it. Still, also hit the like button as well. Really helps us out. If you're watching on Facebook, and I'm assuming you're already part of the community, so thank you for that. Still, just like YouTube, hit that like button. Really helps us out with the algorithm. And with the algorithm, it pushes this content out to people who need to see it. You know what I mean? It gets us out there and it really helps other people. So by you guys liking, by you guys commenting, by you guys subscribing, turning those notifications on, all that stuff really helps out this channel. So I appreciate that. And like I said, with the comments, comment down below, chime into the discussion tonight. YouTube, I can throw your comments up on the screen. With Facebook, I can just read them out loud. But either way, I'll read your comments or I'll throw them up on the screen and I'll read them out loud and I'll address them there. And I always say for privacy concerns, if you don't want your YouTube comments to be on the screen, just tell me that in the chat when you comment, and I'll just read it out loud. That being said, guys, relax and enjoy the show. Let's get into it. Not going to hold up too much of your guys' time. Parenting, it's just we are the model for our children. And I think there's different challenges that mothers and fathers deal with, right, in terms of navigating that. A lot of it is, I will say this, no matter what the challenges are, it's all about a mother and a father being on the same page for their children, for their son or their daughter, or for both. But I'm going to go down the guest list and I'm going to cover some of the things that some of our guests have covered tonight. So I have a video and I have some things that people have sent to me notes wise. So I'm going to start with Joy. So Joy is gave me a great thing here for the podcast tonight. I love this and I appreciate you, Joy. Thank you so much for your words here. So I'm going to go down with some of the challenges that she talked. So Joy is a mother to a 6-year-old son right now, and she's a super mom. She does a lot. But we're gonna go through the challenges here that she has from her perspective. So what Joy had sent me was so some of the challenges when you're becoming a first-time parent is the weight of responsibility. So she said realizing someone depends on you for everything is overwhelming. She said that she navigated it by accepting that she wouldn't have all the answers right away. That's really tough, you start to realize there's a little human that is now in your hands, right, to guide them, when they're a baby, to nurture them, to make sure that they're, that they're safe, that they're not getting sick, that they're healthy, they're fed, they're clothed, they're bathed, everything, like as they're a baby. But then as they grow older, right, into the toddler years, as they get older, this little human is relying on you for everything. That can be really overwhelming. It's a lot of responsibility, and I don't think it's something that you can really understand until you've been there. It's a lot. She also said sleep deprivation and exhaustion. She said lack of sleep affected her patience, her emotions, and her decision making. It also stirred up relationship issues as well, as she learned to lower expectations and focus on survival, not perfection. She said plus to communicate her emotions due to the exhaustion. Yeah, that's a lot, and that's one of the biggest things I hear in terms of complaints between parents is sleep deprivation, right? It can put you in survival mode, especially if this is why it's so important to be on the same page as mothers and fathers, because if one partner is doing the majority of the load, it can be really exhausting. It can be exhausting enough alone. I mean together, but doing it alone is a lot. And my buddy Zach commented in. Zach said, "I am not looking forward to the sleep deprivation." Yeah, brother. It's definitely different. We talk about it, but when the experience in it, I think is completely different. So yeah, man, I don't think anybody looks forward to it, but you know what? What I would say is I don't think there's a better gift on this earth than being a mother and a father. That's my perspective. What I would say is I don't have any judgment towards people who don't want children. Everybody has a right to their own thing, but I just think that one of the greatest joys in this life, I think, is being able to raise your own son, your own daughter, into the young men and women. It's essentially your legacy, right? I just think that's a beautiful thing. So I'm just gonna stretch real quick, guys. So I'm going to go on here. She said, letting go of control. She said, things rarely go how you imagine before becoming a parent. So she said she had to become flexible and adapt instead of forcing plans and routines. And I think that's the thing too. If you're a big planner, if you're someone who's very scheduled, very organized, I hear this a lot too. So Joy, I definitely understand it. Someone who's a big scheduler, with kids, it's unpredictable. Things don't always go, especially if it's your first rodeo, right? It's your first child. Things are not always going to go the way that you imagine them to. There's definitely going to be obstacles. There's definitely going to be a learning curve throughout that process. And you're not going to be able to control everything. So I completely understand, Joy. That's a great point. She said emotional overwhelm. She said postpartum months rocked her. This is the thing I hear with a lot of women. They deal with postpartum. This is a serious thing. I hear this. That's why having a supportive partner can really help out, or having a really strong circle behind you, because this is serious. This is a lot. Postpartum depression is a real thing. She had the mix of physical hormones being out of whack, plus the exhaustion. Forget about it. She said, I felt so many different emotions like love, fear, joy, guilt, and anxiety all at the same time. She said that she learned to give herself permission to feel anything without shame. And her biggest takeaway after doing this for 6 years now, she said, two things can be true. Parenting is beautiful and hard. So yeah, as I said, I think raising a child is one of the most beautiful things in the world, but it's definitely going to come with challenges and it's going to be really difficult. I don't think I've ever heard any parent say that it's not. It's going to be a difficult, challenging thing, but I think that the reward on the other side of it is amazing. But navigating the emotional overwhelm, it's tough. It can put us into survival mode, essentially. And I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. It's tough. And if you don't have a strong support system, or you don't have a support system that's on the same page, so how you're navigating with your partner or your family, right? You have to be on the same page as you're raising children, because as children get older, they know how to manipulate. I have seen it firsthand. Parents, these children know how to manipulate. So if you yell at your child and then they go to, say the woman, she's the bad cop, right? I'm saying bad cop. She's the disciplined one. She disciplines her child, but then her daughter or son runs to daddy, and daddy is just he essentially coddles her. They're not on the same page here. You see that this can be really exhausting. This can be challenging because you have a way of how you want to parent your children, and then they have a different way of how they want to parent their children. And I think this is why premarital counseling is so important, so you can discuss these things. This is a serious thing, and I talked about this on an episode weeks ago. I think it's the 9 essential conversations to have before you say I do. And this is why I think premarital counseling, having these hard conversations up front, so you guys can kind of see each other's perspective and be on that same page before you really get married and have children. Here's the thing. You can even have that conversation if you're not married and you're having children. Have that conversation before the baby comes. So Joy, who I'm reading her stuff right now, Joy said, men go through their own kind of postpartum too, I feel like. Yeah, it's even though the woman is connected, I think, through the womb, right, to the child, because she birthed the child, she has already that bodily connection to the child. Men go through their own struggles too. It's depressing, right? Because your life changes. I think your life changes in a good way, but it nonetheless, if you're someone who is used to doing what you want to do, things shift and things change. You're no longer thinking in terms of yourself. You're thinking in terms of, well, if you're married, you are already thinking in terms of your wife too. But now you're thinking in terms of your family, your child. It's different. Everything you do, every way you move, you have to think about how you're showing up or showing as an example for your child. So this is important. Joy has some other points here too. She said balancing firmness and compassion. She said figuring out how to be gentle, but when to be firm. Ooh, a tough one, right? That's a hard one. She said what she's learned is consistency and compassion can coexist. And she's learned that love and boundaries go hand in hand. 100%. And I think that this actually is true whether you're raising a child or you're in relationships, right? So many times we're afraid to hold boundaries because we don't want to be hurtful or we don't want to be this. But I'm going to be honest with you. Boundaries are a good thing. It's healthy to call out bad behavior. I think with children, as simple as we make it sound, when you have emotions and love involved for a child, it's a little different, but you have to understand this. You really have to understand that with this type of love, you have to be able to set boundaries. You have to be able to enforce them. They do go hand in hand. And if you can't do that, it's going to be a struggle because children know how to walk all over you. They really, really do. They do. Just like a partner, will know how to walk all over you too if you don't set boundaries. And I just think that you can love your children, but showing love to your children is also holding them accountable. They definitely need that. That's why I think they need a mother and a father. They need both of that to hold them accountable in different ways. But it just shows that you love them. You hold them to these standards because you love them. And like I said, this goes also in relationships as well. She said, um, there's a lot of opinions and noise when you became a parent. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people always have their opinions of how you should raise your child too. I hear this a lot. At the end of the day, you got to raise your child the way you want to raise your child. You can take advice from other people, but don't let other people like tell you how to raise your child. You know, everybody has their opinion. Everybody wants to say things. I think at the end of the day, it's between the mother and the father of how their child's going to be raised. So there's a lot of noise from the outside for sure. She said she learns that what works for one child doesn't work for every child. That's for sure. That's definitely like just because that worked for their child doesn't mean it's going to work for yours. She said you got to do what works for your kid and your family. Couldn't agree more. She said there's a lot of reflecting that happens in parenthood. You learn to appreciate what your parents may have gone through more, and you also learn what they could have done better. You also learn how to show up for new parents a little better because you've learned firsthand what they may be needing. Example, a break from the kid, coffee, etc. She said you gain a new perspective. Definitely. I love what you said there about um, you understand what your parents went through, but also what they could have done better, right? Sometimes we're raised in really, really healthy households where our parents were there for us. They showed up for us in the way where they gave us love and affection, but they also didn't reward bad behavior. They held us accountable. We were raised in a healthy household with a solid balance. Not everybody was, though. Some people were raised in inconsistent households where, maybe a child's needs weren't fully met, or maybe they were at times and then it was inconsistent. And at other times, the parent was cold and pulled away. A lot of this, when we talked about attachment styles, a lot of this starts early, guys. Seriously, this is where it starts. It starts really at an early age where this is where a lot of people's attachment styles start, like secure attachment, right? If you were raised in a healthy and secure household where your parents loved you and showed you consistent affection, but also held you accountable. If you were raised in a household where emotions weren't shown a lot at all, you couldn't really have deep emotional conversations. This is usually that dismissive avoidance side. If in an anxious household, you know what I mean? Maybe you were abandoned. And you know what I mean? You're always craving your partner's attention now, right? Like, or every relationship you get into, you're anxious. Fear of abandonment, your needs were neglected. Or maybe you had a very inconsistent and chaotic household where one minute you were getting a lot of love and nurturing, and in the next minute it was completely cold and chaotic and just completely emotionless. And, your parents were inconsistent. That's fearful avoidant. It's disorganized attachment. This is where these things start. So you kind of understand this. And you know what? All this to say, to Joy's point here, is we learn what we could have done better. So if you didn't grow up in a healthy household, it's all about breaking these generational curses, right? As we raise our own children, how do we navigate? How do we as mothers and fathers sit down and talk and be able to co-parent in a way where it's healthiest for the child? And guess what? Even if you two don't work out, ideally, you're not married, husband and wife, or you guys are divorced, how can you still show up to co-parent for your child and show them like, hey, this is what a healthy dynamic looks like? So definitely. And she said, so with all these points, is to say, she said to say, you're not just raising a child, you're growing alongside them. You don't get it perfect. Nobody does, but showing up consistently and trying your best is what counts. Yes, that the growth alongside them, I think, is so true, because you're going to grow into a different person too as you raise your children. You're going to learn a lot about yourself and your own resilience. I always say, like, people who are doing it on their own, or just in general, like, I have so much respect for them because I can only imagine how hard it is, So Joy, this was all great. Thank you so much for your perspective, because honestly, this is going to help a lot of people. So a lot of mothers out there that are first-time mothers or first-time fathers too, this is going to help. So thank you. Seriously. Growing alongside them, you're going to grow too as a parent. You really, really are. It's going to change everything. So, definitely. She said, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. That was awesome. That was really in depth. really vulnerable, really open. And that's what we want on this platform. So that is awesome. Thank you. I'm going to actually go to Kandyce's stuff now, and then I'll go to James. James actually sent me a video. So let me go to here. So Kandyce kept it real short and sweet for me here. She put, one of the biggest hurdles for her, she said, is your body changes and your mindset changes. You're not thinking of yourself anymore. You know, whereas one point you were all about your own routine and your structure. Kind of to Joy's point there, she said, you're not thinking for yourself anymore. You're honestly not thinking about the long term, more so than now, right now. Like as soon as, especially when the kids first come, she said she had based her job and career to match her kid's schedule. Yeah, that's a big thing too. You know what I mean? Things change. You know, that's big, and it depends on the support that you have too. You know, if you have a partner in the picture, and if you do, how helpful that can be too. So it all changes. Everything kind of shifts. She said, I feel like when you have kids and you didn't put plans together, or you're not financially stable or prepared, your main priority and concern is survival in the moment. Definitely tough. And sometimes we can't always prepare. We just got to show up the way we can. So that's a big one. Financial stability. That was one that wasn't talked about, is a big one in terms of your child. You want to give your child the world, right? But you become in like survival mode sometimes with that. So it's a good point. She said, being the best person for them, to protect and to provide and to pour into them emotionally. She said, you live for your children and no longer for yourself. Yeah, everything changes. Your life changes the moment you have a child. And I have seen some of the most immature brothers, respectfully, some of my boys, who I can name two, who just, we were young, right? You know, in our 20s, very immature. And I seen them become a father, and it changed their whole life. Seriously. One of my brothers, I saw him on the beach a couple summers ago, and I hadn't seen him in a while. And he had his son there. It was the first time I seen him there with his son and his lady. And I just went over to him. I put my arm around him, and I'm like, brother, I'm proud of you, because I'm proud of, like, I saw just how the guy matured. That's my brother. I'm not going to put any names out, but I just told him how proud I was of him, because I'm like, dude, I remember when we were younger, just how crazy the chaos, relationships, the craziness in his relationships, the chaoticness, the fights all the time. And I'm like, just the person that it matured him into, it was amazing what being a father can do, how that can shift. I'll tell you, it is crazy. And I've seen it for women too, the maturity, like when you have to have a child, and women carry the child. So like I say, they have that like already like physical connection to their child, because they were already carrying it. So it changes things for sure. Kandyce, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Joy, Kandyce, awesome points, ladies. As you had your little points there, because let me put up. Oops, I think I took my. Let me see something, guys. I'm gonna pull James's video up. Hey, ladies brought great points as mothers. And Joy has a 6-year-old. Kandyce, I forget how old your children are, but I know that they're she has a son and a daughter. All right, so I'm gonna put this up on the screen. Guys, let me share my screen here. Guys, let me know if you can hear this. I'll actually see if I can hear it on my end. Because sometimes you either got to share the window, or you have to share the tab. I'm sharing the tab, so just give me like a thumbs up if you can hear this. Oh, I actually can't hear it. I gotta put my volume up.
Steve, what's up, my brother? Happy New Year. Peace to you and the entire Locked In Podcast Nation. As always, it's an honor to be asked to weigh in on any given topic. And it's funny that we're talking about parenting, because I'm in dance dad mode right now. I'll be taking my daughter to dance in about 10, 15 minutes. But I wanted to weigh in because I think it's an important topic about raising your first child. And one thing I would tell people is to embrace the journey. and discover your specific voice as a parent. What I mean is, as kids, and to this day, I thank my mom and my dad on how they raised myself and my brother. They did an amazing job. I had a great childhood. But at the same time, I'm a parent myself now. So I'm not them, they're not me. We're all individuals. And as we are parents, we have to remember that each child is an individual as well. So I can't just do what worked for my parents with me. I have to do what works with my child. You understand? So it's more about embracing the journey, understanding that, my daughter just turned 14 years old, so I can't parent her at 14 the same way that I did at 4, 8, and 10. So I have to grow along with her. And I think that's actually a really exciting part about being a parent, is all those different stages, not just for the child, but as the parent, we have to adjust as well. Um, I think it's important to connect with your child individually. I think too often people get too caught up in how they were raised and this is what was done for me. Times change. I'm not saying get completely away from what you believe in, but really understanding that you have to really meet that child in the moment every single day. And it's a daily process. It's a daily journey. It's actually really fun. The last thing I would add is that don't get too caught up in all the forums and the books and the research and all this stuff. Those are fine to a point, but you really have to find your specific voice and connect with your child individually in an authentic way. That would be my advice to anyone raising their first child. So again, thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me to weigh in. And as always, stay safe, and I look forward to joining you next time. Take care. Peace.
Awesome stuff. Guys, could you hear that? I just want to make sure that everybody was able to kind of hear that, because realistically, I'm not always sure with I know there's a difference between sharing the tab and sharing the window. I shared the tab there. I think sharing the window mutes it. You can't hear that, even though I could hear it. So I'm pretty sure you guys probably heard it. I do believe the tab is the way to do it. I hadn't shared my screen in a while. Awesome, Joy. Thank you. Appreciate you. Okay, great. Yeah, James, that's my brother right there. James is honestly he's a mentor to me. He's one of my mentors, and James is he was on I think episode 12 of this podcast, and now that we're at 242, that was a long time ago. So James, we definitely got to get you back on soon. But James has always contributed for these types of episodes, whether it's business or fatherhood. He adds some great value, and I just think I met James in 2018. So I met James, I think, when his daughter was either 6 or 7 years old. And I think that that's an important point that he made, that you can't raise your child you can't parent your child the same way at 4, 6, 8, or 10, where his daughter's 14, as how you would parent a daughter at 14. Things change, and you grow alongside your daughter. You grow alongside your daughter or your son or your children, and it's one of the most exciting parts about parenting, is that it's a challenge, right? It's different. It's new, especially if it's your first, that's your oldest. This is going to be different. And I also think how you parent your children, you always want to teach love and respect, right? That should be consistent across the board. But every child's personality is different. So how you parent one child may be a little bit different of how you parent another. You still treat them with equal love and respect. You don't treat them any differently in terms of that. Whether they're a daughter or a son, it doesn't matter. You treat them with love and respect, but it's going to be different because every child has a different personality of how they're born, So, James, I think that was a great point, and also to the point on the books. I have heard that you can read so much, and I think this goes with anything, right? You can be book smart, but also not have common sense in life. So, just going to that point is that I think you need to experience fatherhood or motherhood for your own, and you have to find your parenting style. You have to find how you want your child to grow, right? And and our children emulate us. Children are like sponges, especially in their young years. So like when they're a toddler, they pick up everything. So how we carry ourselves, how we regulate ourselves emotionally, these things all carry forward to our children. This is how our children see us. This is how our children, how we love ourselves is going to show. Like if we love and respect ourselves, that's going to rub off on our children. But if we don't, then they're gonna have that. They're gonna grow up with those same type of issues too. We have to break these curses. But learning to understand that books and knowledge can be great, but don't put too much stock into those things. And I think that that's anything in life. You have to kind of find your own niche of how you're going to operate, how you're going to move. That's like in business too. If I link this to a business, you're going to run your first business. You can take advice from entrepreneurs who have made mistakes, right? So you don't make those same mistakes too. That's why I think having a mentor that you align with is important. But at the same time, you also have to run a business your style. You can't just take everything from someone else and just copy everything. You have to find your own niche. And that goes with parenting too. James, great stuff. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for the video, my brother. But let's get into Nate didn't add. I'm gonna read what Steph had, and then for Stefanie, and then hers is really short too. And then I'm just gonna go to Heath, I think, was supposed to too. I don't know if Heath got me his stuff or not. So I'll check that. But I'll go to Stefanie and then I'll see what we have here. So Stefanie, I forget how old your son is. I don't know if he is 7 or 8. He's, I think, 7 or 8. James has the oldest, and then everybody else is Heath's son is going to be 6. It's crazy that I'm saying that. And then his son, that's his oldest son, Forrest. And then Archer will be 1 later this year. But we'll get into this. So the things that she had, so she's like, she's seen it from both ends. So she'll go from her experience, and then she'll talk from like seeing other people raise children too. So with a son, in the early years, literally boys, they throw everything that they can get their hands on, and they jump off. She said they jump off shit that they shouldn't. But tons of fun, just unpredictable fun to tease. I feel like that's how boys are, right? Boys are going to be in the young years. We're a little crazy. I definitely was not the easiest child for my parents, for sure. I had ADHD. I was wild. I was being a boy. I got in trouble. I did not listen. Got my ass whooped quite a few times. I deserved it. Out there just doing crazy, reckless stuff. And I definitely was not an easy child. But yeah, boys, I feel like in the early years, they're wild, right? You know what I mean? She said for the preteen, like early years, because her son's getting to the age, she said mostly internalize their struggles. They start to keep to themselves. They're not like the little crazy monsters anymore. More likely smart enough to act that way when you're not around, probably. But they start to, mature and get a little older. But they're still a little bit of a handful when they get to the age. I forget how old your son is, Steph. He might be older. He might be older than what I said. To be honest, but definitely. And she also relates to the sleep deprivation. It's a big difference. It's a big change. Yeah, sleep deprivation's big. I don't think there's any way around it. Like you said, Zach, you're like, I'm not looking forward to that. Yeah, you lose sleep, but you know what? What's more worth it than your seed, right? Your child, your legacy, your son, your daughter, your family. I feel like that's the fire inside of you. To be the best man that you can be, the best father, the best husband that you can be for your family and for yourself. It all starts with showing up for yourself. You have to love yourself. You have to respect yourself. And when you have that fire in you there, that's going to carry out. So she said, just from perspective, with siblings and stuff, when you get to the late teens, compared to girls, so she did boys and girls here. She said mostly done with their parents' shit, but rebellious in a passive way. She's seen like once she gets to like 17, like she had a brother, wouldn't argue as much, but instead was just like, I'm not doing that, and would often be the end of it. And yeah, they rebel. I feel like especially when you get to the teenage years, I was very rebellious in my teens. And I think a lot of not every boy is like that, but it depends. If you're outgoing, you're out doing things, out drinking, I'm telling on myself here, out drinking and having curfew and not coming in at the right times, like after midnight and stuff. And just, you know what I mean? You start to get rebellious and we think we know everything when we get to those ages. So I know that your son's not there yet, but I know that when he gets there, you're gonna be prepared having siblings for sure. So I don't know if you're saying this because you're a girl, but she said girls are complete turnaround in the late teens. They start to reach emotional maturity. They start to appreciate their parents, the shit that they went through, and how they were, how they pushed them away. And she said, like in the early years, girls will fight you on everything. They're 13 going on 23, but when they get to that age of the late teens, they start to mature more. Yeah, they do say women mature earlier than men do. I think like frontal lobe full like development fully hits at like 25 years old for a male versus a female. It's definitely the earlier years. So I would say that, from a biological standpoint, that it really is a little bit different in terms of maturity. Are women still immature in their 20s? Yeah. I mean, there's men that are 20, 25, I'm saying is the maturity age, right? There's men in their 40s that are immature. I hear women say it all the time. There's men that are in their 40s that act like they're freaking 21. I know men in their 30s that act like that. There's men in their 50s that act like that. There's also women that do too. So you know what I mean? It's different for everybody. But I will say, just on average, I typically would agree that I think women, from an emotional standpoint, they mature faster than men do. So definitely understand that. And she just said, it's different when a child is going to rely on you. Your whole life changes. Everything's different. Yeah, it really is. It's definitely different. It's definitely different. You have a little soul, a little human that is relying on you for everything. And it's definitely different. It's a change. It's your whole life is different. So how you may have planned your life is just different as you become a mother or a father. But it's just, I really do believe that we have to show up the best that we can for our children. It's a different process. We cannot be our own trauma too, right? We may have trauma, and I think this is why it's so important for us to work on our trauma. I actively work on things that I had from when I was younger, and I'm not just talking childhood. I'm talking like relationships from when I was like 19, 20 years old, trauma from those relationships that, you know what I mean, you navigate. So you have to really work on your trauma, and everybody's trauma is different. Anything that I had gone through might not be anywhere near the extent like maybe other people dealt with narcissistic emotional abuse or physical abuse or different things. You know what I mean? Things are different, but we can't be a victim of our trauma either. We have to work on it. Nobody's going to come save us. Nobody's going to come fix our issues. Nobody. And you can have people to support you, but if you're not doing the internal work, you're going to still carry that. And how you carry that rubs off on your children too. So you have to be careful, because if you're a parent that is constantly in fight or flight, you still have your trauma from when you were younger, you're not working on it, that's going to manifest as irritability. It's going to manifest as impatience. And what happens when you're impatient or you're irritable? You're going to get angry very quickly, and you're going to take that out on your child. Like I said, it's important to discipline your child and hold them accountable, but it's definitely different to be irritable in fight or flight and to be able to constantly be taking your anger out on your child, even when they don't deserve it. What I will say is everybody makes mistakes. Everybody does things that are, you know what I mean? Hey, we get irritable and we get impatient with our children sometimes. Those things happen. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's a saint. But consistently doing it, I think if a child can see things consistently, they pick up on that. And that's when that carries forward into their later years and how they may treat a child when they have children, or even how you treat your partner too. So like your husband or your wife, that manifests in our children too. We have to remember, if maybe we're a single mom or a single dad, so maybe we don't have a partner now, but if you do, how do you show love to your partner? How do you receive love? Like, those things are important too, because that's how your child is going to see it, son or daughter. But yeah, it's definitely different when another life depends on you. I think it puts a fire under you, but it definitely is life changing. You can't just do what you wanted to do. And you hope people who maybe don't have their life together, if they are going to have a child, that it's actually going to shape them into the man that they want to be, or the woman that they want to be. Unfortunately, I have seen people who are not there for their children. They aren't. They're still the same, maybe immature person that they were before they had their child. And that's a shame. You just see so many, and I think this happens more with men. I'm going to be honest, fellas. I think this happens more with men, as there's a lot of absent fathers out there who just aren't taking care of their kids, or if they are, they're doing the absolute bare minimum. I can't even imagine that. I'm going to be honest, not showing up for my kid. I would give my kids my last before, like, I am out here selfishly putting myself before my family. Now, here's the thing. You still need to respect and love yourself. I'm not saying that, because that's not what I want to take it. You still have to pour in and love yourself. But, like, I'm talking about, like, wanting to do all these different things for yourself, but then putting your family last. I think that's the worst thing you can do. Your family needs to be in the back of your mind, any decision you make once you have children. Or if you get married, I'm just talking from a man's perspective, you have a wife. You have different responsibilities. The way you show up is different. It's not an I anymore. It's a us. It's a we. It changes. The dynamic changes. All of that changes. So I'm just talking from people I know who are fathers. Mothers too. I'll look on Facebook, see if we have any comments in here. No comments, got some solid views. Thank you, guys. Let's see. Appreciate the views, guys. Thanks for checking us out. Awesome. Yeah, so things shift. The dynamic shifts. Everything shifts. How we carry ourselves as men, as women. This is what our children see. We have to be willing to pour into ourselves and show up as our best selves for our children, for our family. And I always say this from a man's perspective. A man is the leader, right? And what I mean by leader is, I don't mean a dictator. I don't mean I'm the boss. I do all this. Like, no, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, how do we show up for ourselves? How do we carry ourselves? How we carry ourselves is going to show we set the example. Our wives will follow. Our children will follow. Typically, it's definitely different. So a lot of men, I think, from a biblical perspective, when they hear the word servant leadership, they go, I'm no servant. Like, fuck out of here, dickhead. I ain't no servant. Like, I'm just saying, like, you hear, like, yeah, they're like, I'm not a servant. It's like, not understanding, by a servant, you set the example. Jesus was a servant too, right? Like, we are a servant to our families in a good way, in a healthy way, not in a way that you put your own emotional needs to the side. That's not what we're saying. We're just saying that you are the example for your family. You make sacrifices for your family. Things shift. That's why I say these conversations are so important. That's why I always say too, premarital counseling is important, because these type of conversations of how you're going to raise your children, I think they're conversations that need to be had between, as a man, you and your lady, or the mother of your child, you know what I mean? Your wife. And for women, your husband, your man, the father of your children. How you raise your children, being on the same page is so important. I see so much inconsistency between single mothers and single fathers, right? They're out here and maybe they didn't work out, and then they're in other relationships, right? But how they raise their children going from one house to the next is just completely inconsistent. And unfortunately, you just see the difference in the child. The child comes back from one house to the next and they're acting different, right? Like, oh, mommy said I can't do this. Well, daddy will. Oh, daddy said I can't do this. Well, mommy will. So it's like things change and the shift is different. And that's why I think being able to co-parent and get on the same page is important. It's definitely important. But shout out to guys. This is completely different, but the topic is still the same. Andrew Knight, my close brother. Shout out to Andrew on the birth of his baby girl. She was born not this past Sunday, but last Sunday. So she's about 10 days old now. Shout out to Andrew, first-time father. Had the privilege of being in his wedding. Crazy to believe, almost 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Andrew, super proud for you and Morgan. And I just know you both are going to be a great mother and great father. So if you're watching this, bro, I'm proud of you. I know we kind of acknowledged you last week. And also, shout out to my brother, Bryce Simmons, who's also been on this podcast before. Bryce just had a son about 7 days ago. He's got a baby boy out there. And Bryce wanted to add some stuff here right now, but he's dealing with a lot right now, you know, taking care of his wife. And he's got a little girl already. So now this is his first boy. Shout out, man. You're a great father. The way you show up for your daughter already, Mel, and for how you show up for Ellie, your wife. You're a great man, brother. We align a lot because me and Bryce are like those little finance nerds. Like we be talking business and finance and all that stuff. And we're nerds when it comes to that stuff because we always get excited about that type of stuff. But Bryce, I had the privilege of meeting back at Temple about 11 years ago. Met in 2015 in January. So appreciate you, brother. You're a great father, man. I see how you raise Mel. And I know you're going to do an amazing job raising your son. So congratulations. Congratulations to my boys. Great to see some great men that I know becoming fathers. It's awesome. It's awesome. Actually, the hat that I have here, it's just it's created by a company who are like their fathers, right? And they're like personal growth, personal development. The hat that I'm wearing actually here is funny. It says Dad Gang. So this is a hat by a company of men who are fathers. They created this company. I thought it was super cool. I love the I love the initiative that they're running over there. Seriously, mothers too. They get all the respect too. But you know, just as a man, you know, I love to see men who are genuinely good men who show up for their kids, because honestly, that's why I said a lot of men are slacking. They're lacking, to be honest, in terms of like you see so many absent fathers out there, and son or daughter, they need their fathers, guys. You know, let's be better as men, where we can show up for our sons and our daughters, you know, to be the best fathers that we can be. And seriously, it's not easy, but they need us. They need us, guys. You know, they need us as men. So seriously, I love this. I love the initiative. I love to see people close to me that are becoming fathers and mothers. I think it's awesome. That's another thing in this society. A lot of people have, unfortunately, I think, are starting to get away from having kids. You're seeing a lot more people that are turning away from wanting to have kids. And like I said, everybody's different. I don't judge anybody. I have some really close people next to me that don't want kids. And you know what I mean? That's their prerogative. They're not bad people. They're great people, to be honest. Not everybody wants kids. But I do think it's a little sad that a lot of people are getting away from it. And I think a lot of it is the economy and finances. People don't want to have kids because it's technically expensive. It can be. You know what I mean? It could definitely be expensive. It's definitely different than if you don't have kids, which is unfortunate. That's external stuff, right? But I'm a believer in God. Like I say, it's, you know, God. When you pray to God, is it practical? No, right? God's not just gonna come down and give you $1 million. But I have literally seen God perform miracles in people's lives, guys. I knew a single mother who was tithing for the church, you know, giving 10% when she didn't have it. And God showed up for her in a job promotion. Weird, right? I'm telling you guys that I think God provides, and the economy doesn't change. That's external. You give that to God, but I understand why people are choosing not to have kids too. It's unfortunate, but the economy isn't in a great spot right now. It hasn't been, I think, for a few years, and it's tough. I will say the real estate market is starting to turn around, which is good. But just in general, it's tough. Like what our parents made, I'm talking generations ago, they on a single income with like, what would be today a $50,000 a year job could be able to afford on a single $50,000 a year salary. I'm talking about $50,000 going back to, 1960s, 1970s, 1980s compared to now. They could have where the mother's at home and the father's at work and be able to live comfortably, be able to save money, travel, all that stuff. Nowadays, it's changed. Two people could be bringing in two incomes and still be in survival mode. It's crazy. I understand it, and I just hope that God, in the right timing, if you do want kids and the only thing that's holding you back is finances, I hope that God can bring that for you, because it's a shame. It holds a lot of people back. But I actually didn't get anything from my guy Heath. I don't think he was able to give me anything here. James, my brother. So Tyler, that's my brother too. Didn't get anything to get on the podcast tonight, but Tyler's a father too to a daughter. Great man. One of Andrew's close boys too. Tyler's been on this podcast before too. Awesome stuff, guys. We got some really good views coming in here on Facebook, YouTube. Mott, my brother, what's up, man? Thank you for the like. Guys, I'll probably wrap up in the next 5 minutes. I don't have anything from like I said, Nate couldn't get anything tonight, and I think Heath, he's a father. He's got two kids. Heath has a 6-year-old son, about to be 6-year-old son in April, and a less than 1-year-old other son right now. So he's got two sons, and I know it's crazy when you come home from work. Nighttime, that's that wind down time. So I know he's taking some of the load off of his lady right now. Probably wait to see if any comments come in. Just to give another shout out, Joy, thank you so much for your insight tonight. Kandyce, thank you as well. Stefanie, thank you. My brother James, thank you as well. We really had the ladies showing up tonight. Had some solid points from three ladies tonight, and one man as a father, my mentor James. So love this. Nate's a great father too, and so is Heath. Heath has given some fatherhood points on this podcast before, and so has Nate. Me and Nate had a podcast with me. I want to say back in December last month. Me and Nate had a podcast right before the holidays kind of came around. So one of my brotherhood guys through Fusion Church did a group through him last year, a connect group, which was awesome. Nate led it. And Nate inspires me because Nate is an advocate for men out there. Now, the group that we were in was called Healed Men Help Heal Men. And, Nate is doing some great stuff as a personal, like a life coach and a professional speaker. He's doing great stuff with his wife, and he's got a son. Nate went through a personal crisis last year. I'm not going to announce that on the podcast of what it was, but to see him show up after that crisis was unbelievable. Seriously, like unbelievable. In the midst of everything that him and his wife were going through, to show up still for the brothers and show up the way he did was unbelievable. It was super moving. So I know through him, God has a gift, and he's moving through him for sure. So Nate Evans Jr., you can check him out on Instagram too. A lot of good stuff going on. He actually has a TED Talk too that he did years ago. And Heath too. Heath's a great man, great guy. Super proud to see where you've come to, brother, as a father of 2. Not sure if you're having any more, trying for a daughter at all in the future, or if you got your 2 boys and you're done, man. But you're a good father, man. You know, definition of a provider, definition of a protector. Goes to bat for his kids every single day. Good man. Well, we hit that hour mark, guys. Honestly, I don't really have much more here tonight. Like I said, I just wanted to thank Joy, Kandyce, Stefanie, and James for all of your insight tonight. Zach, appreciate the comment. Mott, appreciate the like. Tyler, all the guys out there. Shout out to Andrew. Shout out to Bryce. Seriously, great stuff, guys. I think I'm going to wrap up here. We will talk about what our episode's going to be next week. I would have done a Super Bowl episode, but the Eagles, I don't think I'm going to do a Super Bowl episode. We'll see, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of up in the air. I had to move topics around. The Eagles aren't in it, so I don't know if I really care to do one, to be honest. But if you guys want to see a sports episode, maybe I'll put a poll up or something this week and we can vote. But I'll be honest, I don't really care too much to do it. I think somebody sent me some good topics that I might be able to talk about seriously on the podcast for this next week. But we shall see as we navigate. All right, guys. I'm going to sign off for tonight. Shout out to the mothers and fathers out there that are showing up for your children every single day. You guys are literally the real ones. Showing up for your children. I love it. You know, I'm just up here on a microphone. You guys are literally legitimately, heroes. The ones that don't get talked about. Because mother, it's just considered normal to be a mother or a father. But I just want you to understand that I see what you guys go through, and honestly, you're appreciated for showing up every single day for your children. That being said, guys, I'm going to wrap up here. Have a great night, great weekend as we navigate into February. I can't believe January is already over. It's crazy. We'll see you next week for episode 243. Have a great night, great weekend, guys. And if you have to deal with any of this storm that's going on this upcoming weekend, I don't think we're really getting much here in Philly at all. But if you're on the coast and the shore towns, make sure you take care of yourself and stay safe. Have a great weekend, guys. We'll see you next week. Good night.